Good afternoon. I'm Gloria and I'm with TUG, and we're so glad to have you join us today for our TUG Connects 365 programming. As you settle in and get ready for the start of today's webinar, let me give a brief introduction for TUG, the usergroup.org, for both our current members and those of you who represent organizations that have not yet joined our online community of Infor distribution software users. We've all heard that phrase, knowledge is power, and I can say with confidence that after today's presentation, you'll be waking up tomorrow with a little more of both. And today is but one of our many in-depth sessions in our TUG Connects 365 series. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence. And that's a powerful combination. If you're currently a member, it pays to get even more involved. And if you're not, please visit our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you do. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Tom Flierl, VP of Marketing with Znode. Tom, go ahead and take it away. Tom, I'm not getting any audio from you, just as a heads up.
Is that better?
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I apologize about that.
No worries.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I am going to jump in here in a few minutes and basically walk through what you see in the agenda here. But before I do that, from a housekeeping standpoint, a couple things to know. We are going to take a couple breaks throughout this agenda or throughout this 20, 25 minutes together and answer any questions that come up in the Q&A section. If you're familiar with Zoom, at the bottom of your screen or in the controls, there is a Q&A bubble. That is what we're going to be using for answering any questions for people who are with us today. And in addition to that, we are encouraging people to either use chat or use that bubble to have conversations, ask questions. Really, we're encouraging people to be very interactive. We know that we can't be live and in person, so as much information as we can get in your hands, that is ultimately what we're trying to accomplish today. With that, I'm going to jump into the agenda. As you can see, what we're going to do today is I'm going to quickly go through introductions. I'll give a quick introduction of myself just so everybody has some background. Then we're going to talk about three things that have to do with growth. And that is one, customer adoption. Second one is going to be customer acquisition. And then the third piece is going to be innovation. And again, we'll take breaks in between, but that's really what we're going to focus on. I am not going to give a demo. I'm not going to talk very much about product. I'm going to talk very much about how do we, coming out of COVID-19, how do we get back to not only a state of normal, but how do we prepare for transacting more online? How do we use our salespeople more effectively? How are we going to grow? And so with that, I'll jump in and give a quick introduction to myself first. My name is Tom Flierl, as Gloria said. I'm the VP of Marketing at eCommerce. eCommerce is a software company. We have a couple different products, but the one that is specifically being used in the distribution and the manufacturing space is a B2B e-commerce product called Znode. And Znode is an enterprise B2B e-commerce platform that's been widely adopted by manufacturers, leading manufacturers and distributors. The other thing to know about Znode is we're heavily investing right now in the Infor community. And one of the reasons we're investing is that we continue to get contacted by Infor customers who may be on a variety of different platforms that are older, outdated, and there's just a lot of frustration in the Infor community in general. I would say in general with a lot of outdated platforms across many communities. So we're heavily investing in the Infor community, and hopefully some of the things that you take away from this presentation today will help you as you look at where you're going with your roadmap for e-commerce. So this was one of the driving statistics that I saw in preparing for this webinar that made me stop and think about what is really relevant today. And so this is actually from a recent newsletter from MDM. And you can see the data up here. 62% of distributors intend to grow revenue over the next 12 months by improving e-commerce capabilities. So that's awesome. Obviously, everybody is reacting to the fact that it's very difficult to get salespeople in the door. Everyone is reacting to the fact that more and more commerce is transacting online, and distributors are getting very serious about it. Here's the other fact that was in the exact same newsletter, which is by utilizing features they currently pay for as part of their ERP system, but never felt previously that they had time to learn or implement. And what's interesting about that is it flies completely in the face of the idea that B2B buyers are consumers and they want an Amazon-like experience, but it's very rare that you can find that ERP e-commerce platforms have the full feature and functionality that are necessary to provide that Amazon experience. And while ERP data, which is what most distributors focus on, things like account-based pricing, kits, bundles, configured products, all of those things where an item is located in a warehouse or at a specific branch, those are all absolutely important. But an Amazon-like experience and ERP data being pulled into a contemporary e-commerce platform are not mutually exclusive and can really play well together. So that's some data that was driving like how to think about where do distributors, manufacturers need to go next, and how do we get to this, point number one being adoption. So some of the things that I was thinking, whether the people who are with us in this webinar are already transacting online and have an e-commerce platform, maybe they're satisfied with it, maybe they're dissatisfied with it, or maybe it's a distributor who is looking to move into e-commerce. Like, how do you really start to move adoption? And so one of the things that I think is very relevant, and this has nothing to do with product, this is just how to think about to get your customers more engaged, is do a pilot program with your customers. Find your top 10 customers, maybe find your top 12, or find maybe 8 that are really great customers and 4 that aren't great customers. And engage them in building a pilot program for better using e-commerce. Ask them questions, solicit feedback from them, and do it on a regular basis, get constant feedback. And what you'll find is not only will you end up making smarter choices about how you're enabling e-commerce or how you're about to if you're just starting out, but you're also going to have these customers be much more engaged with you, and you'll probably take these customers that are already your top customers ideally and move them to even be better customers. It's something called the Ben Franklin effect. And you can Google this, the Ben Franklin effect. But the idea is there's only 2 things that you can really do in business. You can make offers and you can make requests of people. And the Ben Franklin effect, like a summary of it, is that when you make requests of people, people feel more empathy for you, they get more connected to you, and they become more loyal to you over time. The study is much deeper than that, but it has to do with cognitive dissonance. And customers suddenly quit looking at you as a sales organization and look at you as a partner. So engage your customers. And again, even if you're already doing e-commerce, that's okay. Build a pilot program for improving your e-commerce. Second thing with adoption is just use best practices and tools. Ideally, if you're already performing e-commerce, your e-commerce platform has out-of-box themes and templates or user experiences that were specifically designed for B2B e-commerce. Ideally, they're contemporary and easy to use. Why this is something you should focus on is because going through an expensive user experience project on the front end and doing a big discovery on the front end of what user experience should be typically stalls the ability to get to market fast with e-commerce and sell quickly. And it's also very expensive. What we often counsel our customers on is use best practices. Ideally, again, the e-commerce platform you're looking at has out-of-box themes and templates that are designed for B2B e-commerce, but get to market fast. Second of all, rethink the role of sales when thinking about adoption and getting your customers to buy more online. I gave a webinar with TUG earlier this year, and I had this same slide or the same information up. And that is, if you haven't read the book, The Challenger Sale, I highly recommend reading the book, The Challenger Sale. The Challenger Sale actually covers Grainger. And they talk about how Grainger used to have salespeople who would go into accounts and basically were order takers. And certainly they probably did add some value. But if you look at the Challenger Sale, the role that Grainger has moved into with their salespeople is to be product consultants and to be product experts and to help guide customers to make better buying decisions by recommending new products, better products, becoming part of that customer and being part of their, not just their purchasing organization, but different parts within the organization where they will be purchasing various types of products, and then push the sale online. Grainger salespeople aren't taking orders anymore. They're helping their customers choose products. The products are, or the customers are actually going online and transacting online. So rethink the role of sales. But in order to do that, this to me is the secret sauce, and that is using e-commerce data for sales enablement. So one of the things that, so we get a lot of RFPs from companies looking for any new e-commerce platform, and it is very, very rare that we ever see in the RFP, do you have a sales portal that will allow our salespeople to log in, see their specific accounts, see what are the top selling items, basically track orders, maybe even impersonate a customer and help them in their buying experience and buy on their behalf, or help with assisted selling. With e-commerce now, not only do you need a good website, your e-commerce platform should actually enable your salespeople to be smarter. And your salespeople shouldn't have to log into your ERP to get this data. They should be able to do this in the field from a laptop. They should be able to do it from a phone, from a tablet. And if they're not in the field right now, I completely understand, but they can still be doing this from home and really using data to enable their ability to be, again, consultants with the customer and helping them choose better products and manage the customer and manage it through data. By the way, if you ever want to know what it's like to work at an e-commerce product company, what I just showed you for the screenshot was actually from our demo store. And if you blow it up, you can see apparently our product management team wants to work with Singer Distribution, where music and passion are always in fashion. And obviously with it looks like Rebel Manufacturing, which must be a Droid manufacturing company. So a little bit of brevity as we go through this. But getting back to it, now when we talk about adoption, let's say that you're in market after working with 10 or 12 great customers. You've gone through this period where you're doing a pilot program with them. You're increasing traffic to your website, or you're increasing purchasing on your website. Now you can revisit the user experience, the site experience, and you can use the data from Google Analytics. You can use the data from the conversations you're having with your best customers as you're growing them to make any tweaks to the site experience. And again, these don't have to be major tweaks, but ideally, the e-commerce platform you're using or you're moving to has the ability to easily manage the themes and templates and modify them, and has a CMS, where a content management system, where your marketing team can easily go in and manipulate those themes and make changes to the presentation layer without needing significant support from technology people. And with that, I'm going to pause for a minute. I will answer any questions. I'm not going to answer questions on the Copacabana or on Star Wars, but if there's any questions floating up here, I'm certainly willing to answer those questions.
What, no Manilow here? We do have a question, Tom. Can you talk about the role of a CRM and sales enablement, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because often people think of CRMs like Salesforce, or there's marketing automation platforms like HubSpot or other CRMs. Those CRMs typically are about tracking activity and maybe a little bit about tracking orders and pipeline, but rarely do they give you the full 360 view of the customer and what the customer is ordering. And so when we talk about those things, I would say those are very important tools that you would typically bolt onto an e-commerce platform, or you need for managing salespeople. But sales enablement and data from an e-commerce platform, if there's a sales portal or a tool built into the e-commerce platform, are about managing really the customer. Does that distinction make sense, Gloria, or does that help?
It does indeed. And again, I would just like to reiterate that if you have any questions that pop up during Tom's presentation and knowledge that he's sharing, please feel free to type them in the Q&A bank versus the chat window, because when you put them in Q&A, anyone that's online can see what's populated there, so that there's no redundancy, or you can make sure that your question's going to get answered that is pressing. So Tom, back to you.
All right. So we'll keep moving. Again, I'm going to try and keep this within 20, 25 minutes. So I'm going to go through this a little bit faster, but Now we're getting into the next phase in our agenda, which is acquisition. So here's the interesting thing. 80% of B2B purchases start with search. When I say search, I mean Google. I mean off-site search. So there's some real takeaways from that. And one of the biggest ones is obviously having a website that's SEO optimized. And if we go back to my original data and the premise of distributors are using an ERP plugin to get their customers to order online, most ERP plugins in my experience that I've seen, and I've been in e-commerce for about 9 years now, don't have great SEO tools built into them. So the opportunity to acquire new customers through search is being missed. And of course, there's other means of getting traffic to a website, like buying pay-per-click advertising, et cetera, publishing content. But without really, really good SEO, you're kind of stuck. So that's one big thing. And obviously the other component is like, how are the sales once you get that customer? Typically in B2B, you get the same recurring orders over and over and over again. So getting those new customers through search, through SEO is absolutely crucial if you want to grow them. And then once they're on your site, guess what the number one driver of customer experience is in B2B? It's site search. You can see the bar at the top here next to the Maxwell's hardware store logo. And this is again an example from a demo store. But typically customers know what they want. They're searching for something. They find that website because you're SEO optimized. Maybe instead of coming to the home page, they're coming to a category landing page or even a product detail page if you have good SEO. But they're probably going to look for some other things, and they're going to want to type it into that search bar. They're going to be able to have that result teed up immediately, and they're going to want to convert. So taking away any resistance, any need for shopping, and navigating through traditional means like faceted search or faceted filters is a really important piece, and having a great search experience is absolutely crucial because most B2B customers are buying, they're not really shopping. And again, this relates back to that whole concept of the Amazon experience. Amazon has really driven the majority of their sales through having an incredible search experience. And once you have search really, really performing well on your site, again, now you have more data that you can use. So you can use search data to refine your SEO, your search engine optimization. You can use it to optimize your site. You can use it to serve up more relevant products. We're big believers that you should also have profiles, and based upon the type of profile that's logging in, you should actually merchandise specific products and boost certain products and even bury products based upon the profiles, the accounts, the users that are hitting your website. And so again, what that means is you acquire new customers through offsite search. They come to your site, they find what they want, and now not only are they finding what they want, but you're cross-selling, you're upselling, you're making more money, and you're making more money while providing a much better experience for those customers. And again, now you've got new customers. Go back to the fundamental idea of now your salespeople have a good reason to call these customers. They have data in their hands, they can engage new customers, and rather than trying to take orders, whether they're inside salespeople or whether they're outside salespeople working from home during a pandemic, now they're doing product consulting. They're doing solution selling. They're talking to the customer about what their specific business problems are, and they are helping the customer solve those business problems with your products, with your services. And I'm going to pause for questions again. Gloria, if there's anyone who's posted any questions or anything that you see.
Yeah, we do have another question. Do you recommend any specific search plugin, Tom?
That's a great question. Yeah, I actually recommend that the e-commerce platform should have search built directly into it. Search is the number one driver of customer experience. It's absolutely core to success in e-commerce. I don't know why an e-commerce platform wouldn't have that built in directly. And I think and there's a number of reasons. Not only is it great for customer experience, but also like who wants to manage two different things, a search console that's outside of your e-commerce platform and your e-commerce platform. So we typically don't recommend third-party search tools, especially for mid-market distributors, mid-market manufacturers who don't have the money or the staff to really have two different systems running.
And one of the things that jumps to mind for me, because I am an avid online shopper, I'm sure that, many who have been sequestered at home have found that pretty much you can't not get anything you need being sequestered for months on end. So my question to you is within that search functionality, how how does that integrate with other intuitive add-on purchases or substitutions in search, or if people who purchase this also purchase this kind of thing so that you can drive additional sales?
It gets back to the profiles, right? So there's all these complementary products which would make sense to buy together, but there's also the concept of a profile. So if it's a specific type of customer, you may have a profile for that type of customer. It may be a vertical that you focus on or a specialization. So when they come to the site and they look for something, their profile is actually serving up not only products that go well with that particular product, but products that go well with the profile of the customer themselves. If it's, for example, it's a hospital who's logging in and they're buying face masks, you may want to serve up 5 other items that have nothing to do with face masks, but that a hospital would buy.
Interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
That's all the questions we have right now. So I'm going to turn it back to you again, Tom.
Great. I'm going to just do a time check. We're at 21 minutes, so I'll just quickly get into innovation here, which to me is a big issue with distributors right now, particularly when you go back to that first stat, which is distributors are looking to use their ERP, optimize their ERP e-commerce tools. The thing about innovation is that innovation is about possibilities. And so when you think about what is happening in the space, in the distribution space, in the manufacturing space, you have to have an e-commerce platform that allows for possibilities. So for example, a lot of distributors right now are using machines, vending machines, to sell products. To be able to exchange, like have a catalog connect to a vending machine and exchange information and transact and use your e-commerce platform to manage that. Some distributors, we actually have within Znode, within the product, we have the ability to have search by QR, barcode, or even voice search at a mobile level. So people who are in the field can actually just use their camera on their phone and they can actually add things to a shopping cart as they're out in the field, or they can get product information, they can get instructions, etc., while they're in the field. So there's all different ways to innovate. And even when you think about like mobile being an innovation, we do know customers who once in a while say, well, can I get a mobile app? The reality is that adoption of mobile apps, adoption meaning customers actually downloading the mobile app and using it, is relatively low. And where technology is moving with different types of technology like progressive web apps, sites will just become apps. Sites will eventually just become apps in and of themselves in a mobile way or in a mobile device. And so, but in order to do these types of innovation, your e-commerce platform has to be able to allow for those possibilities to even happen. So an e-commerce platform is also about enabling possibilities. And when we talk about enabling possibilities, it's not just the ability to extend an API or to have an app, it's also the ability to do it at scale, meaning that you don't need to hire a lot of IT resources to, say, stand up a new store with a new unique URL, targeted for specific SEO where you can acquire new customers with a unique microsite, or whether it is even whether it's even connecting, like having a special mobile experience. Those things should be easily managed without the need for a lot of technical help, because the more technical help that you need to do these things, or the more burdensome that this becomes, the less likely you are to actually enable innovation. So those are some things to think about. And even innovation with like bringing on new product catalogs and being able to easily tie a catalog to a specific store, to a specific account, a specific user. Those are all different means of innovation that in a lot of older platforms are very cumbersome right now. So from our perspective, I always coach people on enablement means really ease of use, ease of management of a platform, and the ability to have a fail fast mentality where you can test new business models, you can create new experiences, and you don't have to be hindered or burdened by the need for additional resources or excessive resources or outside contractors to get that work done. because those are all funds that can be used for things like optimizing your SEO, acquiring new customers, spending money on pay-per-click advertising, whatever the means are. Your resources should be allocating towards growing, not towards managing. And some things, I guess the final takeaway on that, and maybe this is product specific, is any e-commerce platform should largely be API driven so that it's easy to exchange data not only with the ERP, but also exchange data with different front-end devices. When we talk about mobile devices, et cetera, or even vending machines. And then finally, an e-commerce platform, it should be very easy to manage and enrich product information, publish catalogs, add new brands, and easily apply those to stores without the need for replicating data or having heavy information or IT help when performing those functions. Marketing should be independent, and a distributor should be able to get to market fast, trying new business models. And with that, we're going to wrap up with the final Q&A here, and I think we're at about 25 minutes right now.
Tom, I did have a question populate regarding the multi-store being an interesting facet. We had a question posed, how are catalogs managed in that kind of multi-store environment?
It's a good question. I did bring up multi-stores, like the ability to stand up a microsite, et cetera. This is specific to Znode, but it is something that companies that are looking to acquire a new e-commerce platform or buy an e-commerce platform should really think about and understand is the architecture of a platform. So within Znode, there is a PIM, or a product information management system, where marketing teams can easily enrich data, product information, et cetera. Out of that PIM, unlimited numbers of catalogs can be created, and those catalogs can be created without replicating data and without the need for help from an IT professional. So it really is like a replication of the data that's in the PIM. And out of the administration console, unlimited numbers of stores can be created, and those catalogs can be applied one-to-many or many-to-one to a store. And so I hope I'm answering your question, Gloria, but the idea is you could have your main store, you could apply all of your different brands, which are individual catalogs to that main store. But then if it's a brand that's searched on a lot, you can create a specific branded store and only have that catalog show up on that store. And you can use that just to acquire new customers because you have an SEO optimized, unique one-off store.
Sounds wonderful. Tom, we don't have any other questions that are populating right now. Is there a way that if somebody wants to reach out to you that you can be reached? And here we have it.
Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would say anyone who's interested in learning more about this, please feel free to connect. A great way to connect with me if you want is on LinkedIn. I also do have my email address up here, and you can always reach out to Gloria, who would be happy to forward the information as well.
And while we were going through this, another question did populate. Can the PIM be synced with an ERP, i.e. Infor?
Absolutely. That's the whole idea. The concept is that you can have your ERP data move into the PIM. There's an API system that exchanges data between the two, and they can sync, but then your marketing team can easily manage all of your catalogs, enrich your product information. Within Znode, there's the ability to add unlimited attributes to a product within the PIM. So you can do a lot of really great stuff. And then you can manage your catalogs in your stores from there without needing to buy a third-party PIM, and without having to manipulate a lot of that data in an ERP, which is typically very cumbersome.
That sounds like a wonderful, wonderful option in terms of doing business on a daily basis. On that note, Tom, I'm going to take the screen back here and spend a few moments wrapping up with our digital audience today. First of all, I want to thank everyone who joined us this afternoon from your busy schedules to join Tom and Znode for sharing your wealth of knowledge here with regard to your product offering. And as with most of our webinars, this presentation will be available on our TUG website on the next business day, in this case, Monday. For future reference, sharing with colleagues, someone that you know might benefit from this kind of content. And it will also be posted to the appropriate forum board with the link for viewing as soon as the content is uploaded as well. We'd like to invite those of you who are members of TUG to continue this discussion online in the members only forums, and also wanted to advise that the next webinar will take place on Tuesday. So watch your inbox and the TUG forum boards for the announcement with registration links and content. For those of you who are not yet members, please visit www.theusergroup.org and join us today. And Tom and the rest of you online, as they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap. Have a great weekend, everyone.